Hi guys, welcome back. As 2021 is almost at its end, that means that 2022 is looking around the corner. And it also means that we have started with planning our hiking and backpacking season for next year. And while I'm planning all my hikes and adventures for next year, I'm also very active in several Facebook groups about hiking and backpacking. And very often I see people ask, can anybody recommend me a trail in area that or area that? And then I think, it is so much fun, at least for me it is, to make your own hikes. And therefore, today's video has been dedicated to making your own hikes. I'm sure that everywhere in the world, at least where hiking is good to do, there are a lot of signed trails and hikes. But, you often come in areas that you don't think are really interesting to you. And what's better than having a hike that absolutely 100% suits your wishes, that you're walking through an environment that you like. For example, when you like to walk through heather, you plan your routes completely through a heather area. You can walk through forests, you can avoid towns or cities because, of course, for example, when hiking with a dog, hiking through a big city doesn't make a lot of fun. So what's better than have a trail that 100% to your wishes? Well, this video will tell you more about it. For me, making your own hikes is absolutely part of the backpacking joy and pleasures that it brings, and it's a lot of fun for me. And of course, I follow several steps when I make my hikes, and today I would like to go each of those steps and give you a little bit more in-depth information in how I do things and how I work through all these steps. And let's start with step number 1. And for my first step, I always think by myself, where would you like to go hiking? Well, who's following my channel for a little bit longer knows I love to go to the Eifel and to the Veluwe. But of course, we also do hikes in areas where we are not so familiar. And it's always nice to explore new areas. And I always begin with looking online. Mostly when you're going to a little bit of an area that's a bit more touristic, there's always something to find, like a tourist information. And mostly on websites from tourist information, you can find a lot of extra information. And what you can also do very often, at least for example in Germany, is that you can fill out a form and where you can request several magazines. And when you're asking for those magazines, they often send you really amazing packages with maps and magazines included, extra flyers, all in regards to hiking. So that's absolutely a great way to start, and I will show you some. This one is, for example, the newest package I had from the Eifel. And then you get a magazine like this, which shows you a lot of information and tips. This one is for biking and hiking. And it has a lot of information in it about beautiful trails, where they advise you to go hiking. And as you can see, for example, on a page like this sort of images really get me. And then I see these views and I think, oh yeah, I really want to go there. And by going through these magazines, that gives me a lot of inspiration. And very often together with those magazines, you also got a map. And this one is a hiking map. And it's absolutely a great one. It's a little overview of a specific area. This one is then from the Eifel. And then you've got a complete map of the region where you would like to go hiking. And often you get some additional flyers about specific trails. This one, for example, is from the Eifelsteig, a long distance hike that runs through the Eifel. So in those packages you find absolutely a load of information and so many inspiration as well. And when you find a specific hike online, you can mostly also request information about specific hikes. This one is from the Roodhaassteig. I'm planning the Roodhaassteig for 2023 to go hiking. And then you also get a lot of information booklets about the trail and places where you can stay for the night. You see, there's a lot of information in there. And then you've got also additional prospects or flyers about parts of the trail, where you can find any information about where you can stop, where you can stay for the night as well, overviews of the trail, extra things that are good to see when you're out on the trail. And these are absolutely come in handy as well, and they are a great addition to your plans. And when I have been through all those prospects and flyers and I found an area where I'd like to go hiking, I always make sure that I've got a decent map of that area. And I have a lot of maps, so if it is an area where we are familiar yet, where we have been hiking more often, then I don't need to get an extra map. But for example, these are really helpful maps that you can use. These ones are from Dutch areas where you can go. This one is from the Mijnweg National Park, the Mijnweg. This one is from Midden-Veluwe. And this one is from Loonse en Drunense Duinen. And these are all really detailed maps. And I know for in English you got your ORS maps, and I'm sure America has some of these great maps as well. This one is one from Belgium, so that is a different one. It's from the area of Wallonia. And it also includes 350 kilometers of trail. So that's really come in handy, and these kind of maps I use to start my hike, my plannings. And I open a map and I'm going to see where exactly do I want to go. And when I've got an area where I would like to go, I pin that one and then I switch to my computer. When I switch to my computer, my first step is to check on Google and Wikipedia. Then I look the area up where I would like to go hiking. If it's a national park, it's very easy to find. If it's not a national park, it can be a bit harder, but almost every nature reserve, places with a lot of nature, has some information on the internet. And the first thing what I am going to do obviously is search if Ravi is allowed. Because if Ravi isn't allowed in a specific area, then we can't go hiking there. Luckily in the Netherlands, I must say, dogs are welcome in a lot of places. They can join us in every national park that we have, and some parts of the national parks are not allowed, but most national parks always offer a special dog zone where they can run off leash, or at least where they are allowed on leash. So that's absolutely great, because I know several countries like France do not allow dogs in all the national parks. I've seen in videos from America that they are not welcome everywhere. So I'm really thankful that they are allowed here, because of course nature isn't that spectacular here, and then being able to take your dog with you to almost everywhere you would like to go, that's absolutely great. And when we have long distance trails in the Netherlands, for example, like at Pieterpad, there are always some parts that dogs are not allowed, but we always have an alternative that has been signed on the trail where you would have to go when you got a dog with you. So that's my next step on planning my hike, checking if Ravi is allowed. So when I found an area where Ravi is allowed to join me, then it's time to switch to our laptop. And when you are working online, there are several programs that can absolutely be very helpful in making your own hikes. And I mostly use a combination of the apps of Outdoor Active and Komoot. And for this video I will be using Komoot because that has the most details in it, which I will show you in a few seconds time. And combined with those apps, I also use Google Maps. And I will declare in my upcoming shot what I will be using it for. So it's time to go to the laptop. Come on. So here you can see the website of Komoot, and I really like to use Komoot because it shows a lot of detail in regards to planning your hike, and it's very helpful. What I usually do is I usually use the app on my mobile phone, but for the purposes of this video I decided to use the website of Komoot on my laptop, because that of course gives a way better view of the screen and shows a little bit more detail. So that's what I will be using today. When you use the app, it completely works the same, so that's very nice as well. What I like about Komoot is, like I said, the amount of detail that it shows, and that it also includes photos that has been taken by hikers or bikers or people who are going out with their horses. And I also use other apps like Outdoor Active, but they do not show the photos. And I think that is a great addition when you are planning trails in an area where you are not familiar. So that's really nice. I will show you that in a few seconds. As you can see here, I've zoomed in, or out in this case, on the entire country of the Netherlands. It's right here in the circle. And you can zoom out a little bit further if you would like to go abroad. You can see here you can use the whole world on Komoot. That's really nice as well. But I focus on the Netherlands today. And when you have a map like this, of course that isn't very helpful because it doesn't show a lot of details. You can see where you can find water. You can see those darker areas. And those darker areas are the parts that I find most helpful and on which I base my first steps of the hike. So when I zoom in a little bit further and I go, for example, down here to the city of Tilburg, then you can see a green area starts to appear, and also some more text is appearing. And here it shows that this is the National Park Loonse en Drunense Duinen, where you saw us hiking a few weeks ago. And when you go a little bit down, you've got the Campina, which is on our list to be coming up
in the beginning of 2022. Here you've got the Maashorst. So then it starts to show all the national parks, larger nature areas. So that's very helpful. Here in the left top corner you've got National Park de Biesbos. So there it comes way more in handy. And if you zoom even more in, see, then it's starting to show roads as well, even more detail, and also more of these little signs appear, like you see here, the little red rounds. But I will tell more of those in a few seconds. For this video I will be focusing on one of the larger areas in the Netherlands, and that's the Veluwe, which you can find right here. And I will focus on a part on the bottom top, at the bottom. And here you've got the most familiar part of the Veluwe. Here you've got National Park de Hoge Veluwe. That's the part I was talking about in my video of the Render Klippen, where you have to pay an entrance fee. So usually we don't go there. We always go here, National Park Veluwe Zone. That's also the part where the Postbank is located. So that's where we are familiar. We love to go hiking there. So I will use that part for the purposes of this video. And when you zoom in here as well, you start to see all the trails, the little signs appear, and even more and more details. Here you can see little trails. Here you can see the main road. And what it also shows is where you can find, for example, some water. And those little signs here, those are even hiking dolls or little people, so to say, who are either hiking, running, or biking. And the nice thing is, when you click on one of those signs, then you can open one here on the side, and then you get photos from that part of the trail. And that's something that I really like, because then you got a good impression of how things look in the surroundings. It's not always exactly the trail that you're hiking on, but if you are hiking on this path, for example, then when you are at the back here of the pond, then it doesn't look 100% different. So it gives quite a good indication of the area, how it looks over there. And I think that's very helpful when you are planning your hike. And when I go a little bit up, this is the viewpoint of the Postbank that I showed in my video that I was doing earlier this year when I did my overnighter on the Veluwe Zone. And when I zoom in a little bit over there, then it also tells me here is a restaurant, here is a parking. So this is very helpful when you are starting to plan your hikes. And this is the viewpoint over the Postbank. So when I open that little hole, then photos of the Postbank are starting to appear, as you can see. So this absolutely gives a great insight of the area where you would like to go. You can see if it suits your wishes, and if you like to go hiking there. As you can see here, people upload photos from all seasons. Here you've got the Postbank in wintertime, the signs that you can find up there. So a lot of information can be found either on these kind of little dolls when you're clicking on it. And that one, for example, were hiking dolls. Here you've got biking dolls as well. They usually show a little bit of difference, because they often show, like you see here, more of roads. Because of course bikers are not allowed to go everywhere where we go as hikers. Here you can see part of the road again. So absolutely helpful. Here you can see, for example, when you're riding your bike, what kind of road you're about to expect. If there is a cycling path on the side, is it a busy road, is it a main road or a side road? So yeah, absolutely very helpful. And what I often do is click a little bit around on those kind of photos, look around, how does it look like? And if I think, yeah, this is an area I would like to go hiking in, what I do then is I zoom out a little bit more to see where it is exactly being located. Of course, in Veluwe, I know where it's located. And then I often switch to Google Maps. And here I've got the same area zoomed in on Google Maps. You've got National Park Veluwe Zone. And if you zoom in on Google Maps, you often see already a little bit of most touristic things, or at least things that have been looked up most on Google. So for example, here you've got the Postbank, and then you've got also some photos. So that's handy to combine together the app from Komoot, the photos you see there, and the photos on Google Maps, so that's really helpful as a combination. And what I do here, because it does not show a lot, but when I would like to say I park my car over here, I know that I can park over there, and I'm looking for campsites in the surrounding areas. What I do then is I search for campings, and Google Maps is showing me a lot of options nearby. And here I've got, for example, Buitenplaats Beekhuizen, Camping de Steeg, Adoercamping de Jutberg, and here my favorite one, Camping Bossicht, that you saw on my previous video, or not my previous one, my video from, I think it was February or March. I will link it in the right top corner so you can look back for that. And then you can open it again for photos as well to give a little bit of an indication. This hiker's hut must look familiar to you because it's the one Ravi and I slept in. But this is the old version before they restyled it. But then you can also have a look inside, have a look around on the campsite, sanitary, how the fields look. So then you can also see if this is a camping that suits your wishes. This one, for example, is great. You can see the reception of the campsite. And when you've got a function like this, you can walk all over the campsite by using the arrows. So it is absolutely a great way to find out if this is a camping that suits your wishes. And that's absolutely nice because then you, in Google Maps, you also have the link to the website of the camping. So if you're interested in that, just click on a link and you're straight on to the website of the campsite, and then you can search around to see if you would like to stay on this camping. So what I always do is check out the website to see if Ravi is allowed, because of course that's a necessity for me, because if Ravi is not allowed, that isn't a campsite for our purposes, and I'm not going to book over there. So that's actually the second step I do. I check the websites of the campsites in the neighborhood to see which camping I would like to book to, and when I have found a parking for my car on Google Maps, I also found a campsite, then I continue to part number 3. For part number 3 of my planning, I'm switching back to Komoot. Now, I saw on Google Maps that Camping Bossicht is located right on top of the village of Dieren. So that I keep in mind when I switch back to Google Maps. Then I zoom out first to see where my car is being parked. So in this case, it would be here at the edge of the village of Reden. I see that Dieren is located over here. So what I did then is I zoom in a little bit over here to find the campsite. And let's see. I know Camping Bossicht is located on this road. It's exactly located here. It's called the Frietkraam. Well, as you can see, you've got the photos of the campsite again. So then I know I have the right path of the trail to go to. Then I zoom back out again. Keep that in mind that it was located over there. Then I go back to the beginning and I start planning my hikes. And let's see where my car should be parked. My car should be parked here at this park site. And what I'm starting to do then is I start here. And then I just start planning my hikes. And I use those photos a lot to see, oh, this is a nice bridge. I would like to cross this bridge. So I'm going to add that part to my trail. So and then I choose hiking. And Komoot connects point A and point B to each other. So that's the beginning of my hike. And I zoom back out again. And then I'm going to see what I would like to take this part. So check the photos on that little icon. Looks very nice. You're really passing the postbank. So that's absolutely great. Check this one. That's nice as well. That's where the horses are. Of course, they're not always on the same side, but it is a possibility that you can see the horses there. And then you've got photos like this. And of course, they got me. This is something I absolutely love, a viewpoint like this. So I decided to go for this one. And I added to my trail. And like this, I plan on hiking and continuing my hike at the trail. And here I come even further and further. I'm now randomly clicking because otherwise this video would be too long. But I know here, for example, is a restaurant. Am I correct? Yes, I am correct. Checking that one out. It's Carolina Hoeve, where we often take a break. You saw it on my video as well when they were rebuilding it. It has been opened by now. As you can see, my favorite cows are around Scottish Highlanders, are around the Carolina Hoeve as well. So that's a nice point for a break. So I add that to my trail. And little by little, I continue. Keep planning points and keep adding them. And then at the end, I'm here at Camping Boszicht. Like in this example. And when you zoom out, then you can see your entire trail. And those waypoints, your phone or your GPS, your watch, whatever you're using to navigate, will show you this as well. I will show you in a second as well how trails look on my watch, for example. So this is how a hike is planned, and then of course you can save it and give it a name whatever you like, and then you can look it up later in the app to start navigating. And this is how I exactly plan my hikes. And what I of course do also, like I mentioned before in this video, I always check on forehand if dogs are allowed in the specific area that I would like to go hiking in. Like here in the Netherlands, we do not have any problems with national parks. Dogs are allowed almost everywhere. Some parts, sometimes not, but that's really clearly indicated on websites, on internet. So it's always good to do some research beforehand on Google, Wikipedia. They are really helpful to check if dogs are allowed. And if dogs are not allowed, I always mark the part. For example, if they are not allowed here, then I make a print screen of it. Then I mark the part where dogs are not allowed. And when I start making my trails, then I know that I have to avoid those paths. But when I'm sure dogs are allowed in this area here, for example, I know they are allowed at the entire Veluwe zone, so then I do not have to worry when I start planning the trails.
So that gives you an indication of how I plan our own hikes. So first of all, make sure that you know where you would like to go hiking. Make sure that you got proper mapping. Then go online, and when you know that everything is okay, that you are able to take your little furry friend with you, then it's time to go hiking. I hope this video was helpful to you and gave you some hand-on information to help you start it as well, because like I said, it's absolutely fun to do. I really like it. It really adds something to the fun that backpacking brings me. So if you have any questions, leave them down in the comment box below and I will be happy to help you further. For now, as always, enjoy the outdoors and we will catch you on the next trail. Goodbye. You've been really social, Ravi. Look, they're over there. By the way, yeah. Goodbye, guys.